Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Anna Son Silavongsai with Miss Silly Lessons Learned. Today, I have another amazing guest. In fact, he's related to me. He's my older brother, who, of course, I consider like my even like my mentor and my role model. Growing up. So, without further ado, I want you to welcome Vorada Silavongsai. Vrada, can you tell them by, start telling them like your name, your title, your job, or your
Again,
degree?
I'm Annie's big brother. My name is Vorada. I go by V for short. Currently, I am the clinical recruiter for CHS system, which is community health system. My primary job right now is recruiting nurses. So trying to find nurses is like trying to find unicorn right now because they are so rare because of what happened in COVID of 2020. We are having a nursing shortage. In matter of fact, I would advise anybody I talk to that if you have kids that wants guaranteed jobs within the next 10 years, go into nursing because we are having a nursing shortage. Even with this COVID just added on, because right now, within the next 10 years, we're going to need like 380,000 or more nurses.
Wow.
So, and like I said, if right now we have a lot of nurses because they're traveling, going to different hospital, and so there's a lot of nurses that every hospital right now are not fully staffed because they don't have enough nurses. So that's what I do for a living. I've been recruiting for 15 years, and this year was the first time I actually went to work for somebody else instead of working for myself. I went to working for a hospital system in Farmington, New Mexico, and then I just switched job, moving closer to my aging parents, and that's what my job main focus. All I don't recruit anybody else for the hospital system, just RNs right now because we need them, and it's a time consuming effort.
Yeah. Thank you, V, for bringing that up because we don't realize, how sometimes we go to the hospital, we complain, right? Like, where are the nurses? Like, what's going on? How come I don't see any nurses coming by? It's because there's no nurses to come by, you know?
Well,
And do you feel
and
like,
I mean, and hospital are turning away services right now. I'm pretty sure that you probably have experience that you want to get into this hospital, that there's a longer waiting time
Mhm.
because by law, certain unit,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna go into cardiology or ICU, it's
Mhm.
1 to 2 ratio. They can't have more than 2 patients per nurse. So
Wow.
then if they have an influx of people coming in, then they would have to, call on-call nurses, have them come in. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not necessarily don't have the room for you. They don't have the staff to be there to provide you staff to patient ratio because every floor has different staff to patient ratio. So that's why it's really critical that they have adequate staffing. If you go right now, if you go like where you live, go look at the hospital, see how many nursing positions. It's not that it's not that we never have enough. It's that basically the way the staffing model is that if you are a 200-bed hospital,
Yeah.
you have to have so many nurses on shift and anticipate the patient that's going to be there.
Mhm.
So it's a guessing game. How many like
Right.
med surg you're going to need? How many PACU nurses you're going to need? OR nurses you're going to need? So it's kind of a guessing game because, like I said, that's just like staff or anything else. They're trying to find out from the people they have in the hospital how many people they're going to need for tomorrow, how many nurses, and they look at the model from last year what the census is, but since it's 2020 and 2021, it's unusual time. So it's
Yes.
a challenge for hospitals. So that's why some of that issues that why am I sitting here not being admitted? Because they have the room available, but they might not have the nurse staff to so.
Right. Do you feel like, if that's the case, you feel like the nurses are overworked, because they have no choice? Because I'm not do like, what do they do? Like 12-hour shift? Is
Yeah,
that
they
what they
do. Most
do?
hospitals do 312s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this past year in the hardest time was from July to December.
Yeah.
And the hospital I worked for had 300 hospital beds,
Mm-hmm.
but we were bringing in over 120 nurse travelers to help staff.
Wow.
It's just because normally our normal staff couldn't handle it because most hospital you're seeing a capacity on a good week about 70%, but we
Mm-hmm.
were at 100%.
Wow.
So with that staff ratio, and yeah, I mean, I one of the things I know from working directly with nurses and see them day in and day out, it's incredible because with them, just think about people complaining about wearing masks. They have not only put on masks, they have to put on gown, they have
Ugh.
to put on face shield, and they have to be like that 12 hours.
Oh my
a
God.
day and on their feet and
Mhm.
with the stress. I mean, yeah, I mean, we trying to do our scheduling and keep an eye out, have, a nursing manager keeping close contact eyes on the nurses. But
Yeah.
yeah, those nurses, I mean, that's part of the reason why this nurse is still traveling right now because COVID again just went up this this week because new variant COVID testing positive case between this week and last week went up 95%.
Wow.
95%.
The Delta
Between last week
strand,
and
huh?
this week, it's still not at the 100,000 per day where we were, 3 months ago.
Mhm.
But again, now fall's coming up because I'm looking at staffing forecasts. We
Mhm.
don't fall is flu season.
Mhm.
So from what I'm talking to all my associate out there is that with the staffing nurses, we're keeping our fingers crossed. It's not going to be like 2020. Yes,
Right.
I mean nurses. Sometimes amaze me because we have some that have volunteer work four 12-hour shifts, and it's not like
Wow.
it's your office, right? You're not
Yes.
on all the time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But the nurses,
Yes.
because of the patient load, they have to be on their feet all the time. Had to go from one patient to the next and they don't usually get the same pace they were used to, and they had to
Yes.
do that for basically a whole year straight. And
Wow.
and now I have some nurses that travel instead of coming back to the hospital. They're taking 3 months out because they need that rest. They've been working 9 months straight
Wow.
on sometimes 48 hours a week
Yeah.
instead of the normal 312. So yes, they are burnout.
Yeah. What does like the hospital have? Does you said like there's someone that to watch out, look out for like the burnout, or they're
Mhm.
like mental health, mental
Yes,
health at
mental
the
health
hospital.
counseling. You know how you have your EAP
Yeah.
program,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also we have a nurse, a chief nursing officer or educator, and charge nurse. They all keep a close eye, and then also at the same time, the way they do the scheduling is that's a good thing about informatics now these days
Mm-hmm.
because you can see instantly how many nurses you have, how many
Yes.
patients you have, what's the caseload, and each unit require different care, right?
Yes.
So they kind of keep an eye on that, and if you have a good unit manager,
Yes.
he or she is your lifesaver. It's your life coach, right? It's
Right.
lifeguard that before where you kind of get a hold of. And yeah, I mean, sometimes pride on the nurses. I know that from the last hospital I worked with, that basically the hiring manager had to pull the nurse out because they didn't want to leave because they didn't want to left anybody short or leave that patient
Yeah.
in the middle of care, but at the
Oh.
same time they've been there 20 hours, uh,
Yeah.
you know so you have to kind of step in. So yeah, that's those are some of the issue. And like I said, now I what's going on is that I hope that this fall won't be as bad as last fall because I talked to a lot of doctors and nurses that have been
Mm-hmm.
doing this for 20 years. They never had that experience before. We nobody has, right?
Right.
Nobody has. But now just try and think about you that being on the floor.
Right.
There's a lot of people talking outside and wear a mask, not wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Why I can't go in here, why I can't go in there. But yet, the nurses like this year, they had to go where the hot spot is,
Yeah. I don't
and
think
then they
can
have
do
to worry
that.
about their family. So,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I mean, like truly they are like, heroes and they are so selfless, doing their job. It's more than a job, like you said. And even though, like you said, we've never been through this before, V, I know you trying to be like, you're recruiting, you're working really hard recruiting, nurses and everything, right? Because like you said, you don't know how much you're gonna need, how many you're gonna need. Uh, so with that being said, when you are recruiting nurses, like what do you think is the motivating factor for them like they would say yes, okay, I'll accept this position in Las Cruces or Roswell?
you know what? Just like being a teacher,
Yeah.
one of the things when I'm looking for interviewing nurses, everybody, you're gonna need your qualification, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna need because we could accept nurses with their associate degree or bachelor degree, right? And depending on what kind of specialty they are they OR, ICU, med surg, PACU, surgical? They have to have experience in that. So those are things that you can see in the resume. But what I'm
Yes.
looking for and what I can see in the nurses this year alone, 2020, if you're not passionate about what you do, you're gonna get out. So that's the thing I look for, the passion. And then after that's the teamwork and leadership. because everybody can train the same way. You and I can train on the same thing, go to the same class, read the same book, but how we approach the job is different, right?
Yes,
So what
good
I'm
point.
looking for is that besides the training, it's like, okay, it's the passion. And then if they want to come live in Roswell and Carlsbad, because we grew up here, some people still think that New Mexico is still not part of the U.S.
Right.
I have ran into some of those nurses that I talked to. It's like, we always want to go out there, but we weren't so sure if we're going to need a passport or something. Literally,
Yes.
I get that
Yes.
today still, right?
Yes.
So part of that stuff is that if I'm recruiting for a permanent position, most of the nurse right now they're not moving, just like most jobs because it's just, COVID. They don't
Yes.
know what's going to really happen a year from now still.
Mhm.
So a lot of that stuff. But now I have a lot of nurses looking at opportunity with Roswell and Carlsbad because we're a small community, about 50,000 people. We're
Mhm.
located in the southeast New Mexico. It's kind of unique setting. But
Yes.
at the same time, I'm talking to nurses now that wants to get out of the big city. They want to
Yeah.
move to a quiet place where they can do outdoor because in Roswell, three
Right.
hours you could be skiing, fishing, golfing, mountaineering, right? And
Yes.
the traffic's not bad. So I'm talking to a lot of nurses in Dallas and Houston and Phoenix and Denver,
Yeah.
cost of living wise. So, those are the things that you have to look at it because when you move, just like, I used to recruit engineer all over the world.
Mhm.
The farthest people I moved to for was from Colorado to Brisbane, Australia for a mining company.
Wow.
So, and I have moved. When I moved, besides the job, why do I want to move there? Because they have something that I want to do. I'm a golfer. I want to move there because I have good golf courses. Or, I want to move there because I have family that's close, or I grew up there. So you look for all those connections because I don't want somebody to come here and then 6 months later they're unhappy,
Right.
and that don't help me or help them at all. So those are
Right.
some of the things I'm looking for.
Yeah. I think that's a good point you made about, how people have changed, in the way they want to live because of COVID.
Yes.
There's a lot of like outdoor activities. They're more interested in that now. So instead of like being happy like in Atlanta, like you said, or Dallas, right? Now you want something that's not gonna be a place where it's not so expensive to live and then also accessible to like outdoors. Um, Another thing, V, do you ever find yourself stressed out when you're doing your job because there's such a high need, to get these professionals, healthcare professionals?
Yeah, you know what? The whole thing is, I put myself in my unit manager's shoes because regardless of especially during COVID, I still had to go to the office. We were isolated. We had to go to our office. Half the HR department, recruiting team, were working from home because of they have parents or family with a health condition that they don't want to expose them to COVID. But
Yeah.
half of them were still coming in. But at the same time, is I didn't see my hiring manager for 6 months until into the job because we're all isolated.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I know they're putting in 12 hours a day,
Right.
3, 4. Sometimes the manager, sometimes they work five days a week, 12 hours a day on the
Mhm.
minimum.
Right.
So when we heap all this demand, my job is I like what I do because literally, basically,
Mhm.
I used to be a banker. I love that. Who wouldn't like to give money away? Basically, that's what I said. What you do? I give money away for cheap, right? Now what I do is like besides three things when people met you. First thing they're gonna ask, what's your name, right? And then they're gonna ask you what you do, and then after that might be who's your family, who or what church you go to, right? So the people identify with what job they do. You basically create your life around it. So
Yes.
when I get into a stressful situation, it's that I rely back on who's depending on me to make sure that I'm doing my job.
Right.
Literally, to be honest, truth with you, my job, the reason why I love what I do, when I was a banker, yeah, there's stress because it's numbers, you produce, oh, you did great this week. You got to do better next week, the next month, the next year.
Yeah.
On this one, it's not really a stressful situation because my job, I get to talk to people. I get to
Right.
talk to people and find them the second most important thing in their life, their career,
Yes.
right? So from that perspective, is that I try to be honest and upfront with the candidate. So when they ask me how's it to live in Roswell, how's it live in Carlsbad, what do people do for fun? I have young kids. What are school systems like? So those are the things that I know. Or when I first got into recruiting in 2007, there was no Google. Now
Yes.
Google, You want to know how it feels to live in Roswell? On our website, we have a connection to the Chamber of Commerce, and you can go see all the activities, all the festival that's going to happen. So now that helps me out a lot. So with a click of a finger, matter of
Right.
fact, we just developed a new marketing campaign with a landing page that if you're interested in a job in Roswell, when you click on it, there's a site that you can click and you go directly to the hospital, and then from the
Mhm.
hospital you can click this directly go to the chamber. So my whole
Yeah.
thing is I don't look at the work as stressful in essence. It's just a sense of urgency because I know that if I hire a nurse today, it's going to be minimum 30 to 60 days before they start. If they're coming
Yes.
out of state, they have to wait
Oh,
unless they have combo license, they have to get licensed still, right? And they still got to pack and give their 2 weeks notice and move, right? So every time I'm hiring, unless they're local or within the New Mexico, it's a 30 days, 60 days out.
right.
So that's the way I look at it. Is my job is not really stressful at all. I mean, everybody has the job to do, but I don't approach it that way.
Right. I love that positive attitude, I mean, it's obviously that you care, it's more than just a job to you. So that's why you do such a good job. And I love the, part you're talking about like the tips, like what the three questions going to get asked. I think sometimes it's hard when people say, the hardest question is like, tell me about yourself. You're like, what am I supposed to say? Right. V, do you have any funny stories to tell with like, things that happen during like, when you're interviewing people? Anything weird or funny happen, like where it's like a dog running around or they're screaming at their kids or anything like that?
Well, uh, I was talking to a speech language pathologist. She's from Boston. She just graduated from Boston University with her master in speech language, but she never been west of the Mississippi. She never been out of the Northeast. So when I was talking to her, I look at her resume. She grew up there, went to high school there, got her bachelor, graduate there. And I was just asking, I said, Julie, it's like, why are you interested in moving out to New Mexico, Farmington, the Four Corners area? And because I saw her like, and because she didn't even know where she knew it was New Mexico, but she didn't know much about the history about the Four Corner in Farmington. And I
Oh,
had to explain to her why it's Four Corner because four state connected. Four Corner you got Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. Really, they touch? Yeah, exactly. And so when she came out to do her on-site visit, she brought her mom and with her, and then went to see the Four Corners. She then went to see and took a picture of the Four Corners, the stone monument.
yeah.
And then when she went home, she sent me that picture. V, you were right. And so she was amazed because and she never been to the mountain in Durango. She ended up living in Durango, which is 30 minutes away from Farmington. And
Yes.
when I told her, my selling line was, we have four rivers, lakes, and mountains, and we had a beautiful campus, and she was amazed. But again, this is 2020,
Mhm.
late fall. People still amazed what is out there in America, different
Yeah.
part of the country. Now,
Yes.
I can live anywhere in the U.S. I cannot live in the Northeast. I know you live in Rhode Island. I didn't like
Mhm.
it up there. Too many people. One of the best story I ever told. Another speech language pathologist. I was recruiting, and this is like for Dodge City, Kansas. And she goes, "How big is Dodge City?" I said, 38,000 people. She goes, "In a block?" I said, "No, that's a whole town." She goes, "I have 50,000 people in my block." Well,
Wow.
she didn't come out
Yeah.
because, and now, sis, you're gonna love this because Roswell, there's two Roswell,
Yeah.
Roswell, Georgia,
Yeah.
Roswell, New Mexico. I
Yes.
had somebody apply for the
Yes.
job in Atlanta. She thought it was for Roswell, Georgia, but it was Roswell, New Mexico. And then the next day, somebody applied for a job in Carlsbad that she thought was in Carlsbad, California, not Carlsbad, New Mexico. 2 days
Wow.
in a row. So yeah. So when you go on Indeed, sometimes it's basically clicking and all that. So
Yeah.
um, you know, and like I said, that's one good thing about this job is I get to meet new people every day. I
Right.
get to travel to different part of the country every day. I
Right.
mean, when I was internationally, I usually have to get up at 1 in the morning, talk to people in Dubai, talk to people in Australia, talk to people in the Middle East. So that's why this job's never dull because, like I said, I don't look at it as a job. I mean, it's just like it's fun because I get to meet new people. Now,
Yeah.
especially with Zoom. Everybody thought Zoom was new this year. I've been using this as a recruiting tool, like 7 years ago, because I can't talk to my engineer or my candidate, different part of the world. And, Zoom, they came in,
Yeah.
and so everybody's like, oh, it's a new discovery. No, we've been using this, but now everybody's using it. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. I love those stories. Yeah, and then Rada, I love Roswell. Here it's like the bougie area. Like it's so nice and clean. A lot of rich people live in the area. There's a lot of shops. So yeah, that's funny about the two differences.
yeah.
All right, V. Well, we are almost at the end of our time, and can you briefly just tell us like your degree? What was it in, and then did it help you with this job as a recruiter? Because I know you
You
were a banker before.
Well, you know what? I went to college at first. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So I, went and got my political science and business administration degree.
Mhm.
Then when I took my LSAT, I scored pretty good. I had choices of going to like, pretty good law school.
Yeah.
But I feel like since I've been in America, I've been going to school one way or the other. So that's why my first job out of college was associate dean at Dodge City Community College
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted, maybe that's what I want to be. And then after that, I said, no, I don't want to do that. And then, I came out and, became a human resource director. And then after, it's like, I like, I want to go in car business, banking. When you go to college, basically, honestly, unless you're going to be a doctor, an engineer, or
Mm-hmm.
something really technical, you go there your 4 years to spend to find out what you want to do, to grow
Right.
up, to be disciplined, right? To meet people you're gonna have that's gonna make long life effect on your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when any job you come out to, every job, like when I went to banking, I didn't know anything about banking per se, other than I go to the bank, make deposit, withdrawal. But
Mm-hmm.
every job you go to, regardless of what it is, you can know about 80%, 60 to 80% of that job, the
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals, the structure. But the
Right.
40% to eight, the 40 to 20% more, you're gonna have to learn. That you're gonna train. Just like when you're a teacher, when you go
Mm-hmm.
to different school, different grade, different district, you're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
different training, different process and procedure. So in the essence, that now these days, because the way the economy's moving,
Mm-hmm.
college is there's some advantage, but not necessarily. And but you remember in the old days, it's structured on campus learning. I remember my graduate program. You have internet. I was telling this story to somebody. We were in the room at in Darcy Community College to listen on the radio instead of internet. Our class in Fort Hayes for a master was being broadcast on through the radio. And we had,
Wow.
yeah, we're sitting in
That's
the room and
insane.
it's a little box radio, just like the internet. And we were hearing instructions. And then we had to push a button to, once the instruction answers, that we can push a button and we were talking through the radio. So, this is
Yeah.
in 1993. Yeah, so the
Yes.
internet, we had radio, education. So,
Yeah.
but in reality, it's just like you said. I didn't when I went in there. What I wanted to be, what I am now. It's just like anything in life.
Right.
You have to adjust to your life situation,
Mm-hmm.
and then your passions change.
Yes.
One of the things that I had an opportunity to do other things, but at the same time, it's like okay, I started out recruiting engineers, went to manufacturing, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went into architect. I went into healthcare, and now nursing healthcare. So
Mm-hmm.
even within the career field, like you're teaching, right? You can
Right.
teach different subject, and then you can move
Yes.
up to different administrative level. Well, same thing
Yes.
with recruiting. Is that you can pick your specialty out there that you like,
Mm-hmm.
and my whole thing, I didn't, all things I didn't think I was going to be in healthcare,
Yes.
because I had to learn all these things about healthcare too. But that's what's exciting about it, and different nursing unit they do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And the different hospital they have different layout of how the service is being offered. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things about in career I choose for right now, because I don't know if I'm going to be doing the same thing 5 years from now. I just don't know.
Yes.
Is that find something that you love. Every job there's some frustration,
Mm-hmm.
there's some challenges. But see, one of the whole thing is when I took this job, I have an office in the hospital, at a
Yeah.
corporate office, and I mean, an office in the hospital. I go there one day a week, maybe half a day, because my boss in the corporate office, they want me to stay out of there. They want me to focus on what I do,
Mm-hmm.
and the best way is to work from home office. When I took
Mm-hmm.
this job, I didn't even know it was going to be home office.
Right.
So I'm traveling between two hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I go down to Carlsbad one day a week, a half a day a week, just to check in on my hiring manager. But most time I work from here because my job is to deal with candidates. I spend looking what when a candidate apply for a job that I have open, it
Mm-hmm.
pings me. So then I go look at it, and then the thing is, this is how far it comes. When you apply for my job, I get a bing. I can text you right away because nobody answers email anymore, right? Or
Right.
phone call. So we
Yeah.
have an application on there. If you're gonna go apply for a job somewhere else, sis, you're gonna get a text most likely than anything else. I can text you, hey Annie, hey, thank you for your interest in the job on the
Mhm.
message floor at our Roswell Hospital.
Yeah.
When's the best time can we have a conversation? I text and I get
Yeah.
to respond back and hey, this is the best time. And then if I
Yeah.
don't get a text back an hour later, then I send an email. And if I don't, then I wait another day. The next day, if I don't get email or text back, then I call and leave a voice message. It's about connection. So, you
Yeah.
know, so,
I, that's well, that's great way to end our session, V. You give some really good tips. I love what you said about how, we don't know where we're gonna be at and what we'll be doing. Our passion changes and it's okay, you know. So I think
that's
you
this
really
because
give good
you
point.
guys are the one that has the longest passion. My passion changed every 3 to 5 years. So,
I know. I know that's so true, V. Well, I'm proud of you. Thank you so much for being here with me and giving such an insightful interview and also insightful look at, the medical profession, the recruiting, your job, and the skills that's needed.
yeah,
So,
well, like I said, so guaranteed job, go be a nurse. The
yes,
pay is great, work
yes.
environment is great, and you contribute to society. So,
Yes, perfect. I'm gonna tell my students that, you know.
okay, sis.
All right. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Vika. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you want to, hear more stories like this. Remember to take care of yourself and your family, and I'll see you next time.